Welcome to the 30-minute hour. It's the weekly podcast where we discuss business, sports, politics, and whatever's on our mind. I'm your host, Eric Twiggs, your procrastination prevention partner. Joining me as always is my partner in crime. You know him as the super CEO, the business strategist extraordinaire, and all-around good guy, Ted Fells.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. All right, it's certainly a happy Monday. You can see our guest there. We'll introduce her shortly. All I can say about our guest is she has inspired me to step up my background game, because apparently I missed the memo, that we were going with outstanding backgrounds on this episode of the 30-minute hour podcast. But maybe we'll get some tips for her as far as what I can do to improve my background game. But this is not your everyday podcast. You can go to the 30minutehour.net and catch the previous episodes that have been archived. When you go there, you can see our YouTube page and watch some of the videos that we've created. But trust me, and you'll see today, this is certainly not your everyday podcast. And Ted, once again, I just have to talk about the What Now Movement Facebook group. Did you happen to check out our Motivational Monday video that we put out there?
I did. It was very motivational today. Absolutely.
Absolutely. We had Justin Rambo. He talked about you had to check with your CEO. Very motivational. You'll really be ready to take it to that next level. I would encourage you to go to the What Now Movement group Facebook page. Go there, and every day we've got a different theme for the week. Monday is always Motivational Monday, so go back and check out that video. And those of you that are watching us right now, you're watching us live. Please make sure you're typing in the comment section. You want to say hello, you can do that. If you want to pop in a question, you can do that. If you want to talk about how our guests, her background is so much better than ours, you can do that as well. But yeah, definitely make sure you leave your comments. We want this to be an interactive thing. Ted?
Yes, Eric.
Ted, this is the interactive part. This is, where you and I talk back and forth.
Absolutely. I'm with you.
Okay. I've got something that's on my mind.
Eric, what do you have on your mind today?
So I want to talk today about how to change the world.
All right.
How to change the world. So I came across this story. There was this story that was told. It was about an 8-year-old boy. His name was Bobby. He's out of control, right? And he would do the opposite of whatever his mom said. Mother's name Molly. So the mom would say, sit down, he'd stand up. She'd say, be quiet, he would talk louder. She'd say, stop running, he'd run even faster. Matter of fact, I know a little boy that's just like that. I won't even tell you his name. But
Not Bobby.
Not Bobby. I know somebody else is like that. That's another show altogether.
Right.
Yeah. So Molly, she knew that Bobby liked to work with puzzles. So as a last ditch effort to settle him down, she gave him a puzzle of the world. It was his puzzle of the world globe she wanted him to put together. So she gave it was it's an adult level puzzle. And she figured this would surely occupy his time and give her some much needed peace and quiet. Okay. Right. So to her surprise, the little boy, he returned to her side like within 5 minutes, having solved the puzzle already.
Wow.
So she's like, what did you do? How did you put that puzzle together so fast? So here's how he responded. Oh, it was easy. On the opposite side of the globe puzzle pieces was the picture of a man. So I turned the pieces over and I focused on fixing the man.
Wow.
Once I put the man together, I can put the world together.
Mm.
So here's
Wow.
the thing. So it's a little known secret. Your world is the world, right? When we talk about changing the world, whatever your world is, that's the world. And here is the fastest way to change the world. Again, this is the part of the show where people have to get off the treadmill and stop what they're doing and just really tune into what we're about to say, right?
Put the slice of pizza down, maybe.
Right. Put it down. Here it is. You want to change the world? You have to focus on looking in the mirror instead of out the window.
Mm.
Right. So, and you and I, we were talking about this kind of off the air. You know, like I've had over 28,000 plus coaching sessions with executives and entrepreneurs. And I've never in all my years, if someone's failing in business or they're coming up short on income, no one has ever said to me, you know what, Eric, I'm the problem. It's my fault.
Yeah, it's never our fault.
Right. I'm sure, Ted, you probably never, you're CEO.
No, it's always everyone else's fault.
Right. Yeah. I'm not meeting budget and it's my fault.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would probably be a good book. I'm not meeting budget and it's my fault.
Right. That's right. There's absolutely nothing I could do different.
Right. So, and we're going to be talking about like healing and healing programs. And that's really what this kind of ties into our guest. But any healing program, the first step is always looking in the mirror and owning your story, right? Mm-hmm. You have to say, hey, my name is Jack. I'm an alcoholic. You have the first step is always owning your story.
Right.
This is so important. Now, I'm really looking forward to hearing our guest take on this, because by doing this, you can help to raise the vibration of the planet one story at a time. That's right.
That's it.
And I bring this up because helping to raise the vibration of the planet, it just happens to be a core message of our guest. So I tie that in there. So this is a great opportunity for us to bring her on. She's an author, educator, and host of the Women's Wellness Podcast. She's the founder of Loose Inspiration, a positive media company using words and multimedia to empower and heal. We already said her core message is to collectively help to raise the vibration of the planet, our planet, one story at a time. And her work is a response to her personal healing and self-development journey. She's the author of a brand new book. We'll talk about that too. Sand and Sea. It's a collection of poetry depicting a woman's journey to healing, cultivating self-acceptance, and finding love. Please join me in welcoming to the 30-Minute Hour podcast. She's a returning guest.
Absolutely.
Lucy Coutinho.
Hello, guys. You know, at this point, you should just have me as one of your hosts, because I'm on here that much, right? So
hey, Eric, that sounds like a great idea. We need to have a guest host one day.
I'm telling you. Yeah,
I do appreciate you guys having me on. Thank you so much for having me back. Yeah, my pleasure.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's certainly an honor and a privilege to have you on. And so I wanted to talk to you. I mean, you deal a lot with, healing and wellness, and I really wanted to get your take on kind of how we opened the show, where it's really about taking ownership. And really, what do you see? Do you see that being an issue with the people that you work with, or the healing that you attempt to do?
Well, I don't see it being an issue only because the people that I work with have already reached that awareness.
Okay.
And that's why we work together, because there's obviously something that they want to address and heal. And I don't like the word fix because there's nothing wrong with any of us, but just, accepting that there's work to be done, there's healing to be done, there's self-development to be done. So the women that I work with all have accepted that, almost like a challenge and a quest. And so, but that is probably the most difficult thing to come to terms with. I know, and I'm speaking for myself, it took me a while to figure out, what was really going on with me. And I had to really look, like you said before, look in the mirror, really be honest with myself. I had to examine my patterns, my decisions. It was like I was going in circles, pretty much making the same choices and expecting somehow a miracle, a different outcome. And that doesn't work because the common denominator has always been me. So I had to really look within and figure out what was going on. What are the traumas that we all have traumas. And that's my understanding, because as long as we all have childhoods, we all have been through certain things in our lives that whether we've addressed at some point or we haven't, and that it follows you, and it really it impacts the decisions you make in life. It impacts how you feel about yourself. It impacts your self-love, your self-worth, and the story, it goes on and on, how we treat other people. So I had to be really clear with that. And it came a point where I just got tired. I was like, I just cannot live like this anymore, So that, yeah.
Okay. Okay. And so let's kind of go back to your early childhood. So you immigrated to the United States with your mom and your brother at the age of 5. How did your early life experiences impact your self-development journey?
Sure. So I immigrated here from the island of Cape Verde. My mother and my grandmother sacrificed a lot to get here. They wanted a better life for us, better education. And so I always felt an obligation that I had to fulfill because they worked so hard, and it was almost like an expectation. I wanted to, and my grandmother actually passed away this past November, right? And I always remember how she lived her life, with her heart wide open. She loved everyone. She was very giving and very open. So I always wanted to, almost like emulate that and live and carry on her legacy. And my mom, being a strong woman that she is, has always instilled in me that I can do anything. And I literally hear that and I believe that, since coming up as a child, she's always told me that there is nothing that I cannot do, that she's giving me the keys, and there are doors that I have to open. And so part of me feels like I want to make them proud, and even further than that, I'm raising girls, I'm raising daughters, and I want them to also, I want to be an example for them. I want to be a great example as a woman. So having strong female role models around me and strong female figures have really impacted my urgency to become my best self, really.
Okay. And so if you could go back in time to when you were younger, what advice would you give to yourself knowing what you know now?
I would tell her to slow down. I would say get to know yourself on a deep, deep level. Build that relationship with yourself first. People don't really tell you that. They tell you to, build relationships with others, find a great partner, find a great husband, or so on and so forth. But I don't really hear them saying, well, build a relationship with yourself, become your own best friend, you know. And I think that once you do that, you can move about the world a little easier, you know, because if what doesn't feel good to me, I wouldn't allow, you know. And I think that's definitely what I would tell her, because no one told me that.
Wow.
And I learned that later on in life, that the best relationship that we can have is the one that we build with ourselves.
That's great advice. So,
Absolutely.
so the question is like, how does one go about doing that? How do you build a relationship with yourself?
Get to know yourself. You know, a lot of us, like it took me a long time to get to know myself. So that's why it was probably easier for other people to tell me who I was, or to want to please, or, you know, just making the choices and the decisions that I did early on, especially in my 20s, not really understanding what it is that I wanted, how I wanted to feel, and what love really felt like or was supposed to feel like, you know, all those things. And I think it's, and going back to your question, it's pretty much just getting to really know yourself at a core level.
So when was that aha moment that you felt like, okay, I know myself? Like when was
Um,
that? If you can share that.
So it wasn't an aha moment, like I know myself. It was more so, aha, I need to get to know myself. And that was late into my 20s, reaching my 30s, because, you know, it was a really dark time for me. And that's actually when I published or started writing my first book. It was a point where I didn't like a lot of the decisions that I was making, and I almost didn't like myself at a certain point. It did not feel good, because I'm like, why do I keep making these choices and these decisions? I don't like it. But I didn't like it because it wasn't aligned with who I was. And it wasn't aligned with who I was because I really didn't understand who that person was, because I was constantly trying to be or fulfill someone else's ideal or idea of who I am.
Yeah, very interesting. And I agree with you 100%. I know there's a saying that, you know, that like if it's a relationship, you should focus on, you know, that person being a complement to you and not necessarily a supplement, right?
Mm.
So that because they're you're bringing something to the table, they're bringing something to the table. You're not looking for something that's missing within you.
And it's not their responsibility to make you happy.
Right.
You know, it's no one's responsibility to bring you joy or to bring you happiness. That's yours.
Yes.
You know, so.
Okay. And so your, like we mentioned earlier, your core message is to collectively raise the vibration of the planet one story at a time.
That's serious. That's serious.
I saw that. I said, Lucy is not playing.
That's right. Right.
No, I'm not. I'm not actually. And I say one story at a time, because we all have a story. Everything that I do relates to someone else, right? So I do interviews. I have my podcast, and it's always about either sharing my story or listening to someone else's story. And when you do that, we begin to heal parts of ourselves. And when we do that, we are slowly raising our individual vibration. And as we're raising our individual vibration, collectively, we're raising our vibrations together. And growth and elevation is the reason why I believe we're here. We're here to grow, we're here to learn, we're here to expand. There's no I mean, there's no limit to how much we can expand. And I want us to remember that. And I want us to feel and own our greatness. And to do that, we need to dispel of these narratives. So whatever stories we have about ourselves, or if there's healing and trauma that needs to be done, how do you do that? You talk about it, you uncover it, you don't keep covering it up. I know that all too well. I've done that too. But it wasn't until I opened up and was really clear and honest about traumas that I've experienced, that I was able, then it no longer was a part of my narrative. It was just, that's what I experienced, but it's not who I am, and that just like, it's almost like, putting down all this luggage that we've been carrying around for so long. And that, helps me. It's like I feel like I'm floating through life now, more like less heavy, less burdened by all these stories, but you have to unpack them. And so that's what I mean about raising the vibration of the planet one story at a time. It's, I'm not that powerful, but together we are powerful,
So, but how did you, like, was it like a specific experience you had, or how did you get to the point? Because this is so well thought out.
Yeah.
Where you said, okay, this is my core message. Like, what happened? How did you arrive at that?
Because I know how it feels like to be unhappy, to be uncomfortable, and to feel darkness, and to feel almost, I don't like to use depression because I don't think I was all the way there yet, but I would always like constantly feel unfulfilled for whatever reason. I would look around, I mean, people would look at me and say, well, what do you have to be unhappy about? What is it? That's ridiculous, right? But it's lack of gratitude. It's lack of awareness, self-acceptance, accepting who I am, and just being, in love with that person, myself, and just not feeling good. So I know what that feels like. And when I started to realize that I no longer wanted to feel that way, then this awakening and it brought me here, because I truly feel like that I've always had that gift to speak to people. I'm a communicator and I'm a healer. By nature, I'm very empathetic, and that's how I connect with people. So I've used different platforms and different avenues to try to help, and it's healing for myself as well, so we all heal and help one another.
See, Eric, Lucy, I've known her for some time, and she always sounds like this. She's just so calm, and I just feel so relaxed. Like I feel like I've been helped. I've been healed.
So there you go.
Yeah, wow.
So it's a gift. I mean, and I accepted that gift. I didn't want to accept it. I wanted to be a reporter on television. That's what I went to school for. That was my intention. I wanted to be an anchor woman and report the news and just be out there on TV like that. I had opportunities to do that, but I couldn't do it because it didn't feel right to me. I felt like, and I think it's a great profession. I have absolute respect for it. And I mean, I'm still in media, I'm still a communicator, but there's a certain way that I feel like I was chosen to do it. And so I have to listen to that. It's almost like a calling, something that's in my heart and that feels the most natural.
It also seems like in what you're doing now, you can control your message,
And
Right.
and I'm glad you said that, because that is what I wanted to do. I wanted to control my message. I mean, working in news for as long as I never had control over the content, over the message. And I didn't necessarily like what the stories did to people. It's very fear-ridden. It's very like chaotic, urgent, and it's done that way purposely.
Mm.
It's done that way intentionally to keep us in this fear-based, controlled manner. I, on the other hand, have a different message. We are powerful. We control our narrative, and we don't have to live that way. We don't have to live the way that they're telling us to live. We don't have to be separate and be fighting each other and be so divisive, so that's why it was a constant, it's like a love and hate relationship with the media, and I'm just like, well, why don't you just create something of my own? And I've always had, as you know, an entrepreneurial spirit about me. I like to be the boss and in charge and
Oh, yeah.
handle my own stuff.
That's
So I'm
right.
like, well, this is a great time to be a creator. It always has been, actually, but so yeah, control your control the story, and two, tell the story from our lens, and that's what I'm doing. I'm telling stories from our lens, and I'm done with allowing other people to tell our stories for us, because how can they accurately tell our stories?
Mm.
And it's interesting because I think people undervalue their story.
Mm.
And I mean, I've gone through this where I would say, I remember when I was first starting in the public speaking space, my thought was, okay, well, what am I going to say that hasn't been said already? You've already got Les Brown and all these other people, but the story, and I tell people this, the story is what makes your message different.
Mm.
Yes.
We all have unique stories.
Oh, yeah.
So I think you're spot on, Lucy, how critical it is and how valuable our story is.
And Eric, people connect with your story,
Yeah.
right? They're not connecting with you because you're up there on the stage speaking at them.
Right.
Never.
Right.
The best speakers are able to connect with their audience because they are telling their stories.
Yeah.
So I truly feel like that is the best way to connect. Like, I don't want to go to a speaking engagement and just hear you speak at me. I want the story. Who are you?
Mm.
What moves you? What experiences have you gone through? I want to feel myself there, and that's what makes a powerful speaker.
Absolutely. We are here on the 30-minute hour podcast. You may be listening to us from your mobile device, or you could be watching us right here from the 30-minute hour Facebook page. Shout out to all the What Now Movement people that I see have logged on or watching us now. Again, feel free to type in the comments section. We're here with Lucy Coutinho. We're talking about changing the vibration of the planet. One story.
That's powerful.
It is. It truly,
Yeah.
it truly is. And I think if we own our story and we aren't afraid to really tell it, I think that's the key. So Lucy, you're the host of the Women's Wellness Podcast. Now, how do you use this medium to communicate your message?
Sure. So I encourage women to go through the many layers that we have to our wellness. When we think about wellness, we think about, physical health and dieting and eating, but there's so many layers that go into our wellness, and the guests that I have on, they've been so diverse because they come with their unique stories and experiences, and we, I've created this safe space where we can come and talk about the different layers of healing, particularly for women of color, Black and brown girls all over the world. You know, we have our own unique stories, our own unique healing, because we've experienced our own unique set of traumas and, you know, circumstances, unfortunately, right? So it's very unique to us. So it's a space where we can come together and talk about those things and be really transparent and open and honest with ourselves. So that's in that's why I even started the podcast, is because I wanted to cater to those women. I mean, I'm a woman of color, I'm a Black woman, right? So I can tell the story from that perspective. Yeah.
Excellent. And I believe you were just starting. I think you were about to, when we had you on last, you were right about to launch that.
I was right about to launch that, and it's been a year later.
Uh-huh.
And I've had, like, I don't know, I think I'm at 40 something episodes.
Wow.
And I've transitioned it to Instagram Live. So I go live on there twice a week. And it's like kind of like a continuation of those conversations. And it's been great. You know, I love lives because they're very interactive. People chime in, they ask questions, and yeah, it's been pretty amazing. Like the guests that I've had, I'm so incredibly grateful for, because, you know, they just come on and they're amazing, really truly amazing guests.
So one thing, Eric, about Lucy is she says it and then she does it. So
Yeah, I
ever
will
since
not
I've
say
known,
something if I'm not gonna do
it's
it.
going,
If
it's
I
going,
say
it's going to happen.
something, I'm gonna make it happen. Absolutely.
So Lucy, with everything that's going on right now, with you know, the protests and everything with you know, going on with COVID-19, and I know you have friends or associates that have feelings of uncertainty, and you know, and I know you just kind of have that calming way about them. Like, share with us a bit about some of those conversations that you've had.
Yeah, so for it's interesting because I did like a quarantine journaling workshop with group of women. So I would do it every 2 weeks, and we would come together via Zoom, and I would facilitate this journaling workshop. We would talk about our feelings, how we're feeling around everything, and we would journal about it. You know, I'm a huge journaling advocate. Right, you know, it's, and so we would write and heal through it. And some of the things, a lot of the things that we talked about was the uncertainty of everything. How do you deal with the uncertainty?
Yeah.
And a lot of the things that we also talked about is being grateful for the things that are going right in your life right now. We're on this call because we're healthy right now.
Yeah.
You know, we haven't been impacted by COVID,
Yeah.
you know, and that's a true blessing, because I know a lot of people who've had family members, friends transition due to this pandemic. So it's pretty serious. And
Yeah.
I do, like, every day I'm grateful, you know. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful to be healthy. I'm grateful to be around great people every day that are supportive. So, you know, we kind of like reminded each other to look at the bright side of things, and that kind of helps you cope. And also finding different things that bring you joy, like simple things, you know, like doing yoga, going out on a nature walk, meditating, writing, FaceTiming with your family members, you know, things like that, checking up on people, and you know, just in keeping the connection going. It was really great to connect with these women at those times, because I felt like we really helped each other. You know, we're still in this time, but now people are able to get out more and it's a little bit relaxed. Not for me though, because I'm still like, I'm not ready to go out there right now. It's just not, I don't feel it's safe, but we're all making different choices for ourselves. Um, but yeah, that that is how that is what I was able to do, and I find different things and different ways to cope. It's not easy. There's so many changes, and this is a challenge, honestly. Yeah.
See, you hit on something, and I know when we had you on before, you touched on this too. I think this is a good opportunity to go back there. You talk about journaling. Can you talk about the benefits of journaling and what simple steps people can take to get started?
So I in the last journaling workshop that I facilitated for a group, um, the question that really stuck out to me was, well, um, like, do I have to have a pen and notebook? I say no. You don't. There's so many ways to do it. Like we have our smartphones now. Like if you're more comfortable typing in your notes, do it that way. And somebody else had brought up a point where they felt it was almost like a pressure, like they had to sit there and write for 20-30 minutes. And I said, no, you don't have to write for that long. You can write for 5 minutes a day. But what I do encourage is having a ritual, like every day in the morning. If you prefer to write in the morning, just write however long you feel to write, and also not to really think about it. I think we overthink the process too much. So I would encourage to start a few minutes a day if you can. I would introduce music. I like to have instrumentals playing in the background. It kind of helps with the rhythm and the flow. It helps me write. And making it a ritual. Pick a time, a day that you're going to do it every day. And also if you have a journal, have it out in plain sight. Where if you see it, you're more likely to go and write in it because it's there. And two, another question someone had, do you have to write a whole paragraph and sentences? No, you don't. You can doodle, you can draw, you can make a sketch. Like there's so many things that you can do to it. The point is to just express whatever it is that you're feeling. And that can come in words, that can come in pictures. Some people are artists and they're really creative and they can get creative with their journals. So there's so many ways to do it, and it doesn't have to be like this pressure, like I have to do it right, because there's no right way to do it.
Yeah,
It's your way to do it. And I think that kind of like makes it a little easier. And I hope that answers your question, Eric, because I tend to go on.
No, that's a great answer.
No, that was good. That was good. And I think like most things, I think people, like you said, people overcomplicate. And they think, okay, I've got to write for an hour. If I'm writing for an hour, I'm not journaling.
That sounds like a chore. Like putting it that way. I mean, I'm a writer and that doesn't even sound enjoyable.
Right.
So yeah, no.
I just think most things can be done if you start small, right?
Yes.
Like you said, for 5 minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes. If you can commit to that, you can write a lot in 5 minutes. A lot.
Good. Well, hopefully that's a big takeaway for our followers to get in the habit of journaling and getting those ideas out of your head, those thoughts out of your head on the paper.
Yeah.
Awesome. So let's talk about your book, which I believe Ted has a copy of right there. He's about to put on the screen.
Bam.
That's right. So you just released this book, Sand and Sea. So what inspired you to write it?
So that book was, I would say, a beautiful accident. I started writing, well, I completed writing a book on relationships and partnerships, and I scrapped it. I wasn't feeling it. So I scrapped that and I started to write a book of poetry. You know, I've always kind of played around with poetry, but didn't think I could complete an entire book. So it was almost like a challenge for me, and also an opportunity for me to dig deeper. I believe that poetry allows you to go into places where you wouldn't normally go into. It's so free, there's no rules, and I don't use the right punctuations and the right grammar. It's so like it's so free forming. And so for me to write it felt so liberating, challenging, but and it felt so rewarding at the end of it, because I was like, wow, I actually did it. I didn't think I could do it, and I did it. I changed like every rule possible. I broke every rule with this book. First of all, I have a picture of myself on the cover of a poetry book. I did that intentionally. I was like, well, I looked around, did my research. I said, well, no one has a picture of themselves on the cover of a poetry book.
Yeah.
And I will do that. And so it felt liberating to break all the rules.
Mm.
It did. And I really I enjoyed writing this book because too, I'm in such a better, peaceful kind of space.
Yeah.
And everything flowed so naturally, and I was able to like a lot of the poetry pieces that I have in there, I have a lot of pieces about heartbreak, about my daughters, and not being with my daughters, and my daughter growing up and having to let her go, in a sense, writing about my dad and writing about my mom, writing about a toxic relationship, and but to finding love again. So it was just like I was going through all of these motions and emotions, and that's why too the name Sand and Sea came to play. It was really thought out. It was going to be a name that when I told my cousin what the name was going to be, she's like, no. So I said, okay, thank you. I need to go back and,
Right.
and think about a name. So Sand,
Yeah.
thinking about life, and Sea, your inner emotions. So that is the core meaning and the spiritual meaning behind the title of the book. So I thought about that long and hard. And I'm a product of an island. I was born on an island, so that it doesn't get any deeper than that. So it really allowed me to go into a place within myself where I was just like, wow, just pulling out the pieces and saying, you know what? I'm ridding myself of all of this. I don't need it anymore.
Mm.
And I'm hoping that, and two, in the book, it's packed with affirmations for women, brown girls, Black girls, everywhere, to remember how great we are.
Mm.
So I'm big on affirmations. Like, I'm the girl that will write like affirmations on her sticky note and like put it on my mirror, on the wall, wherever I can access it and see it.
Yeah.
And the book is filled with them. And it was done intentionally because I want women to read it and feel that and be reminded constantly every day how great we really are. Don't forget that.
Wow. Eric, we may have to do a joint book about how great guys are, and what and to give us some some affirmations and all of that, because I just feel like we've just been totally left out on all this good stuff that Lucy's giving out. We're just fortunate to get some of this today for free.
I'm telling
Yeah,
you.
and Ted, I wish I could speak from a male's perspective, but I really don't have experience. But
No, definitely.
men are great. Like men, we need you. We need you as allies. We need you to support us. And I know Ted and Eric, you guys are wonderful men, stand
Oh,
up.
Thank you.
And we need you, and we see you, and we value you, and we always will. And that's what this is about. It's about uplifting each other and being there with each other. We're not bringing anybody down, pulling anybody up. It's
Whenever I'm having a bad day, I'm just gonna call you because you just make people feel warm. Eric, I don't know if you feel. I just feel like I'm just uplifted. I
well,
just
that's
feel,
why I have all the great guests that I do on my
man.
show.
I'm telling you, wow.
Yeah, I feel great just from sitting here. It's,
Well, I'm only a phone call away, but I do
That's right.
charge.
Oh boy,
okay.
we'll just bring her on the podcast again when she gets another book.
He's like, I'm getting it for free.
That's right. We got a low budget here, 30-minute hour.
I'm sure you do.
So Lucy, I mean, you're doing a lot. I mean, you're an author, you're coaching people, you got the podcast. Talk to us about your daily routine. Like,
Oh, it's gonna be good.
What time do you start? What time do you finish? How does that look?
Yeah, so I'm a teacher by trade.
Mhm.
I teach preschoolers, but since the whole pandemic happened, I haven't been teaching since March. So it's allowed me the time to focus on my artistry, and it allowed me the time to finish my book, publish my book. So currently, so my focus is my podcast and my interviews, but now it's really marketing and moving these books. And since I launched last Wednesday, and I've just been getting orders after orders after orders, and I'm super excited and grateful for that, because it's like, wow, how amazing. So my day starts off typically, maybe I'll meditate. I'm not going to say I meditate. I'm one of those people that meditate every day for 20 minutes. And I just, no. I meditate whenever I want to, really. Like, I don't like to put restrictions on myself, and because I feel like sometimes when you do that, you beat yourself up, and that kind of, it's counteractive. Like it doesn't. So I do try to meditate as much as I can. Constantly writing throughout the whole day, preparing my interviews, researching my guests, booking guests, taking orders. So that's kind of how my day flows. And then I'll take some time to learn Photoshop, because now I'm as an artist and as a creative, I've always kind of shied away from the technical things, taking photos and doing Photoshop and things like that. And learning, working on Canva, doing more graphic design. So I'm diving into all these things and learning all these things that I've been curious about, and things that I'm like, oh wow, now I can actually do all these things for my business and not have to outsource and pay other people to do. So I take a lot of time to learn new skills. Yeah, that's pretty much how my day goes. It's not really structured. So I wake up every day, and depending on what needs to be done during that day. But I don't start my day without my cup of coffee, though, and my breakfast.
That's consistent.
Very important.
All right.
Very important. I'll skip through lunch, whatever, but coffee, Starbucks, run. I'm still that bougie Starbucks girl. I'm not gonna lie. I love my Starbucks. They know my name. I walk in, hey, good morning, Lucy, whatever. But yeah, but that's like these little things that make me feel happy. You
Mm.
know, like the little routines that I used to have, I don't want to completely get rid of it because it's such a crazy time
Mm.
that we need to have some sort of like from what feels familiar to us, you know.
Yes.
Wow. So what do you tell your friends that are like they just want to get back to normal? Like,
Is it a wish that they want to get back to normal or that they're actually getting back to normal? Like what am I telling them?
yeah.
Well, I don't really tell them anything because I feel like it's something that's it's a personal decision for each individual.
Mm.
I personally don't agree and believe that we're quite ready, you know, and I live in California and the numbers here are crazy. You know, we're still not clear. That's just my opinion. So, you know, we don't go out in crowds. We haven't been to a beach. Like there's so many sacrifices we're making right now. We stay in the house
Mm.
with, you know, there's three of us here, and that's all we have been around for the
Mm.
past maybe 4 months since this
Wow.
whole thing. So we're really disciplined, and it's frustrating, honestly. Like there are days where I'm like, wow, you know, I'm watching stories and watching people online. I'm like, wow, I wish I could, you know, like get
Right.
back to normal and kind of live life again. But then I'm like, I don't know. I don't feel safe to do so yet. We don't.
Yeah.
Hmm.
The one thing when I listen to people that are bothered the most about the situation is I think it's around just not having a whole lot to do,
Yeah.
right? And like I
Mm.
think with us that are like, that are kind of creative and doing these
Mm-hmm.
virtual things, like Eric and I, and I think the longer this goes, the more stuff we're gonna create. So I mean,
Yeah, and that's precisely true. I we're always busy, always busy. Like, yeah, I can't say I'm really ever bored, honestly. Like I get that antsy feeling like I want to get out
mm,
and feel normal and do normal things and not wear a mask and not worry about touching things and like that kind of thing.
yeah,
But in terms of being bored and oh my god, what am I going to do with my day? I have not had that problem.
yeah,
Luckily, but as creatives, we're like, this is the best time for us, honestly. And my heart goes out to, people who are, impacted by this pandemic. I don't take that lightly and I'm not laughing at it at all. But it's also for me looking at the bright side. So
mm,
this is happening, right? It's my reality, our reality right
yeah,
now. What are we going to do with this time? And that's what I always ask myself. Okay, this is the reality, and what are you going to do with this time? There's nothing I can't do anything about it, but I'm going to create.
yeah. It's the weirdest thing. Like you're just out with a mask on. You're like, man,
Hmm.
6 months ago I didn't have a mask on.
Right, yeah,
Like,
just
what is this?
right. It's strange not to, like, you're walking up on someone but you're like, oh my goodness, I
Right.
can't even get near you, or like, and you're literally running away from people.
Yeah.
That's the part that really, like, gets me every time. I'm like, oh my god, there's a human, we have to move, like
Yeah.
we have to go the opposite direction. That's wild to me, so
You feel like you want to smile at someone, but you got a mask
you got a
on.
mask on. Hopefully, and
Yeah.
then I wear my glasses a lot, right? Because I don't want, but your eyes are also exposed. You
Yeah.
can get it through your eyes. So I'm like, okay, covering literally my entire face. So it's like there's no connection.
Mm,
There's no connection.
It's,
And
it's,
that is hard,
it's an awkward time. Like sometimes I'm at a
right?
grocery store and I'll see a fraternity brother and normally we would, do the man hug grip thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're like, okay,
Right.
all right.
Right. I see you, bro.
Yeah.
I see you. Right. Right.
Right.
It's an awkward time.
Yeah.
Very much.
And one thing, Ted, I think you and I, we can't complain of boredom, right?
Yeah.
We've got like 8 different shows we do, and
Bored we are not.
Yeah, no, I can't. I would have to agree with that. That is not even in my vocabulary. I don't, yeah. And then I take my downtimes, like I binge watch shows. Like I I balance it off with things. I'm like, just mess around for a few hours and not worry about work or creating anything. But here it is, like creators are so needed.
absolutely.
Look, right now we need movies, we need music, and we need entertainment. I hope we never forget how valuable that is.
Absolutely. Yeah, now's a great time to laugh and be entertained, and yeah, for sure. So Lucy, what's next for you on the horizon?
Yeah, so when all this boils over and we come out on the other side healthy and everything, book tours, definitely. I'm excited to get out there and spread my book, speaking engagements, doing more shows. I applied to grad school, and that's a little, I'm confident that I'm going to get an acceptance letter.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so that, just trying to figure out the next steps and just moving forward. Yeah, so that's pretty much what I'm working with. Yeah.
One thing we know, whatever you say is going to be done.
Oh, it's getting done. It's getting done, Eric. It's getting done. Yeah.
For better or worse.
It's getting done.
You can take it to the bank.
Yes.
It's done.
All right. So how can our followers best connect with you, Lucy?
I am very active on Instagram, and that's luce.inspiration. And you can always email me at luceinspiration@gmail.
All right. luceinspiration@gmail.com. All right.
Yep, .com. Yep.
Good.
And then my Instagram is luce.inspiration. I spend most of my time there.
Excellent. And then how can they get a hold of that book that Ted's about to hold up?
Sure. Let's see the book. So I am taking personal orders. You are welcome to email me at luceinspiration@gmail, and also DM me on Instagram. That's luce.inspiration. And I have a really cool care package too. I have variation of care packages, and they include a mug with a quote affirmation, and also a tote bag with a quote and affirmation. So
that comes with the book.
So there's packages, right?
I was gonna say, where my tote bag and my
Tote
mug?
bag and mug. I know. DM me, email me your order, Ed.
I think I'm good without the tote bag, but the
But
mug?
have you seen it on Instagram?
No, I have to check it out.
Yeah, check it out, because I do have mugs too.
Okay.
It's a latte mug. It's pretty cool.
Eric, we're gonna have to get those mugs, man.
Yeah, you drink your tea or your coffee drinkers, right?
Time to time, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a coffee drinker.
Yep. So it's great for the show.
That's
you
right.
can have your mug.
That's right.
I'm a good saleswoman over
That's
here.
right. A great salesperson.
Right.
Sounds like a sponsor, Eric.
Right. All right. Well, yeah, this has been an amazing episode of the 30-Minute Hour podcast. And so at this point, we're going to go around the horn. This is where we each leave that closing thought for the people to remember. So Lucy, as our guest, we'll start with you. What is your closing thought?
With me, I would say whatever's in your heart, go and do that.
Whatever's in your heart, go and do that.
How do I follow that, Eric?
You could try.
Oh, so you've talked throughout this show about just everything that you've done to just kind of help inspire women. But I think there's a lot of those things that you've said that can be applicable to men as well. When you talked about getting to know yourself, right? So I'm sure, I wasn't the only one that was just kind of listening in on that to say, hey, do you really know yourself? And what does it take to get to know yourself before you can, I guess, how do you become the best you that you can be? And I think that's the thing that just really resonated with me throughout this throughout this session is, maybe I got to go back and, talk to self a little bit and say, but make sure I know myself. So I thought that was really good. And I'm sure that's going to be very helpful to both our female and male audience.
And I think, Ted, I believe that it's a lifelong journey. We are constantly changing, right? Constantly evolving, and there's like so many different versions of ourselves. And so it's not a place you arrive to and say, okay, now I'm completely done. I know exactly, you know what I mean? It's a journey, but I think it's a very important one.
Yeah. Well, again, I'm really happy for your success and just watching you because I remember when, right? So when you're just talking about some of these things, and I've just watched you just kind of knock each of them down. So, if that grad school knows what's good for them, they better go ahead and.
I'm waiting for that letter any day now.
Either give it to you now or give it to you as honorary.
That's right.
In a couple of years, right?
That's right. Exactly.
So,
yeah, absolutely. And then, so my closing thought, Lucy, it has to do with when you were talking about gratitude earlier. And I even look at like this whole pandemic thing. And like I was driving through my community here and I noticed something really interesting, like the number of people that were just out exercising. Just these groups of people, husband and wife, families of 3 and 4. I never saw that before the pandemic. If I'd be out running, it's just me. But now, everywhere you look, someone's out exercising.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes you think when you talk about gratitude, some of the positives that'll come out of this pandemic. People are now thinking about things they weren't thinking about before.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I think, Lucy, you've inspired me, and I'm sure the rest of our followers, to really focus more on the positives. Like, what do we have to be grateful in this situation? Yes, there's all you can see the news with all the casualties, but if you're healthy, your family's healthy, and that's something to be grateful for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
that changes everything.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, and I think gratitude is so important, and it's one of those things I talk about it in my work and in my presentations, and I think it's one of those things that people think of as like a cliche, but it's so critical.
It is so critical,
and especially in these times.
Yes.
So
yes, we need it in these times, right?
So Lucy, you got to promise us that you're going to come back and see us again. I know you'll have another book done in about 90 days or so.
I know. I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, definitely. And coming on one day to be a guest co-host as well.
Oh, I would love that. Like, seriously, if you never let me know, I'm down for that.
Great.
That would be fun.
Well, good. Okay. This has been again an amazing episode of the 30 Minute Hour podcast. It's not your everyday podcast. Make sure you go to the 30minutehour.net and check out the archive of the past shows. You can watch us right here on the 30 Minute Hour Facebook page. Until next time, have a great one.